Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I am Evil Mike, or Mike if you prefer, and I have a review for you. From Boom Studios, this is Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue number 1. It's written by Jason Aaron, art by Alexandre Tefenkgi, colors by Lee Loughridge, and letters by AndWorld Design. And it says pages 29 and 30. The art is done by Nick Dragotta, and colors by Rico, Renzi, and the cover is Mike Mundo. I read this right now. I have just enough time to do one review, and guess what? This book definitely needed a review. It was fantastic. Before we get to the review, though, please like, comment, subscribe. It definitely helps this channel out a lot, and I do appreciate all the support I can get. But this book was fantastic. The art, the story. I will say I do have one minor little gripe that comes to play at the end. But let's get there. So the book starts out, and we are with, let's just say, our main character. We do get a name for this person later on, but for now it's just the main character. And it's basically setting up some of the world. It says that it is that she has been sailing for 19 and 5/8 days past glaciers of melted plastic. Okay, so this is the end of the world. And first I'd like to point out that I didn't know it until I was like reading, but it is a Kiss the Girl homage from Little Mermaid with the polluted fish doing the whole. Okay, so anyways, it kind of sets up the end of the world, like seas of plastic and trash. It's pretty much called the wasteland at this point. We don't get an explanation on what happened to the world, but it's just everything is gone. The book kind of goes on, and it explains that this person has been alone for quite some time, and that's the way they like to keep it. It's pretty much probably, as you can think about it, it's probably not, her first intention to stay alone, but, I mean, the world can produce some pretty crappy people, and she probably ran into some crappy people, so now she's just on her own, and that's the way she's gonna survive. It says that on this day that something miraculously happened out of the blue, and she just happened to run out of food. She is 3 days into her starving. She has other supplies, just no food. So the book kind of explains that if she wouldn't have run out of food, that she would have missed the tower. But she does stop, and she ends up going after these little crab, scorpion type things. We do see her kind of test and try it out and stuff. They do show a little bit up close, and on this back page right here they do show a little bit of her face, but we get to see a lot more of her. But at this point it was kind of it was just a person in the mask, so it was the first time you get to see her. We do get to see the tower that they mentioned, and it's basically water surrounding it, and some of the tower underwater and the rest above. And basically, as she went to go pick up the scorpion crabs, as you can see right here, one of the lobster crab scorpion things ends up pecking at the boat. It ends up springing a leak. She has to hop off the boat because it ends up sinking, and thus that's how we get to the tower. As soon as she kind of makes it over the tower, and then she hops off her boat, it ends up sinking, but not just sinking, but there's a creature that comes up to demolish it and take it down to the depths, and there is some eyes and some tentacles. They just basically call it a sewer beast or something like that. But at this point she's kind of the monster eventually puts his sights on her and starts creeping closer to her. And now at this time, she didn't realize it, but she ends up tripping an alarm, and you can actually see it right there, the red alarm. But as soon as she trips the alarm, inside the tower, a massive alarm goes off. The other main character that we're about to meet, he kind of mentions this, that he wished he wouldn't have, put the alarm so loud when he set the booby traps, kind of thing. But basically, he gets up, runs over, and he just figures it's the sewer beast or whatever. He mentions something that he's gonna make it go boom. We do get to meet. We do get his name, and it's I think it's pronounced Maceo, Maceo. But basically, he runs up, and we do see that he has this whole like Pee Wee Herman style setup of kind of like gun, and he's got it loaded with bowling balls. He ends up to look out the periscope, and he sees our our other main character, and basically at this point he's like, oh, it's these like it's these like acid swampers that kind of show up from time to time, and supposedly every time they do, it's kind of this fight between the sewer beast and Maceo, because either he kills him or the sewer beast does. And they even show you right here, because they give you a little more detailed on the sewer beast, but they also have like a plaque that has all his markings of all the acid swampers that he has taken out with his boom burr, is what he calls the machine. But eventually, as he's looking at the periscope, he kind of noticed something that he didn't notice before, and eventually that sewer beast ends up taking swipes at the other main character's mask and knocks the mask off, and that's when Maceo actually sees that it is a girl. At this point, he kind of pauses. He was literally going to like kill her, and eventually the river beast started kind of going like full blown. She does end up like getting all entangled by the sewer beast, and she, like a badass, claws her way out with daggers and knives. And but as he is stunned, realizing it is a girl, there are more sewer beasts, and she kind of laughs like, yeah, I killed your uncle, come on, come get it, and he is just kind of like frozen. He doesn't know what to do. There is a moment, he's been talking into a recorder, but there is a moment when he's like, Mom, Dad, this is Maceo. I'm kind of at this point I've never had before, but I don't know what to do. What should I do? And basically, he does what we know he was supposed to do. He busts open the door, and he ends up doing his boom burst, so we get to see that, and basically it just kind of annihilates the first sewer beast that's over there, and ask her to come in, hey, if you want to live, come this way. And we see that he's got this badass, like, we find out later on it's cosplay, but it's Doc Ock's, like, arms or whatever, and they are functional, but eventually, like, she takes it as a threat, and like a badass, and she's all up close, trying to kill him, trying to figure out, we already know at this point that she wants to be alone, and she doesn't trust humanity, kind of thing. But the whole interaction that she has with Maceo is nothing but a positive one. He's like, hey, how's it going? I just saved your life. Oh man, you didn't have to destroy my Doc Ock arms that I invented myself. And that's where we learn a little more of that he is an inventor. And basically at this point he's nice enough where he's like, hey, would you like a tour of the tower? And she's like, what is this place? And he's like, well, there's a couple floors underwater, and then everything above that is me. And we actually get to see some of his elaborate places, like a book pool, a river room, the safe room, which is just a room with towels and pillows piled to who knows where. The inventing room, and we see he's kind of got like a vulture type apparatus thing going, and he actually is flying with papers going up. The other room is the elevator zoo, which I was like, who built this room? Did he build this? But he actually has like creatures inside the elevators. And the last one he mentions is his mom and dad's room, and he says that he doesn't go in there and he doesn't want to talk about it, and you kind of see why. It's all barricaded. Looks like it's been quarantined up. But he takes her to the place that he thinks that she wants to go to the most, and that is called the Orchard. And it's basically like this huge, room of vending machines, and he explains that that's what he's been surviving on. That's all his food and stuff. She kind of puts up this trade, these like rat pelts that she's made or whatever, and he's not interested in it, but it's really just, he's just giving it to her. She makes a comment that's crazy, you're just going to give me this food, and there we go, the rat pelts, and he kind of gets weirded out because they still have the faces, and But basically, she's kind of weirded out because he's offering something for free. Not only did he save her, but he's also offering food and water if she needs it. And she's like, "You're not gonna make it in this world. You better stay in this tower." And he's like, "Why?" And he was like, "I haven't met anybody else. No one's ever come to this tower." And at this point, she starts, asking for a way out. That's when we finally get their names, and it is Maceo, but he likes to go by Mace. And then we get to find out the girl's name, and it's Esmeralda, but she pronounces it Esmeralda, like all separate. But she does announce that no one calls her that, and she likes Mezzi instead. At this point, because of what she said, that other people call her Mizzy, he kind of brings up, "Hey, do you have family?" And he was like, my mom and dad are here, but they're kind of dead, and I don't want to talk about that." And she just keeps asking for a way out. He does show her like the way out, which is in the back of the safe. And at first I thought he was actually going to trap her, but inside the vault there is a broken out like door, and the book did it fantastic. Like, it doesn't reveal until the next page that there is like a exit out of that room, because there's like 8 panels of him taking her to that room. I thought he was gonna lock her in there, but no, there's an exit, and you can see it leads to, like, it's supposed to be an exit that leads to the mainland without touching the sea or whatever. It's something that his parents used to use to scavenge. And at this point, now that she is gone, he is facing an even bigger dilemma. He's already broken a rule, and we find out at this point that the first rule was he's not supposed to open the door, and it pertains to how his mom and dad died. There's some kind of sickness that went out. They don't know what the sickness was, but something took out his mom and dad, and I kind of imagined it to happen while they were scavenging, especially because they pretty much had everything they needed in the tower, is what Maceo says. But at this point, he is perplexed. He doesn't know what to do. Let's just say the girl of his dreams just left, and the reason I said that is because it's the only girl he's met. Maybe the last person alive, kind of thing. They do mention the acid, so there could be other people. But basically, at this point, they kind of talk like, they haven't seen anybody forever. As far as we know, since the mom and dad died, the boy's all been by himself. We do get to see past the quarantine door. That's what I was showing you right here. But that is his mom and dad, and they died in a lover's embrace. But you can clearly see that they're pretty skeletal. And basically at this point he's asking his mom and dad, like, should he leave and go with her, or should he stay in the tower? And of course, looking at the front cover, he packs up and goes with her. We catch back up with Mizzy, and she is kind of already on the trail, hitting the highway. And as soon as she gets a little bit out, she does pull out this handbook, and it says on the cover, it says the Wasteland Rangers Guidebook. And at this point, the book kind of mentions something about the Rangers are after this girl. That's all it kind of mentions, at pretty much anything backstory-wise about the girl. But at this point, this is when, she hears a holler, and it's Mace that is, trying to catch up. But he is overburdened like crazy. This dude's an inventor, but he's trying to bring everything that he thinks they will need. Eventually, falls down, and there's a whole conversation basically on his end, because she didn't say anything, but basically how it would be stupendous to go on an adventure together since they're the only people that they've seen. She doesn't like the idea. She wants to stay alone, and she pretty much continues to walk, and that's kind of where the book leaves us off. Now, this is where I mentioned in the beginning of the book that the last 2 pages are done by different people. It's because the book goes, it says years later, and I emphasize that because as soon as you start reading it, and if you pay attention, this would be at the end of the world. We already seen like the world possibly in a destroyed state. The book does state that this takes place at the end of the world, and basically we are catching up with Mace as a very old man, and someone has him, tied and tortured to a table, kind of thing. And basically they have the tape recording that he was talking into when he first ran into Mizzy, and this person is asking, this thing is asking if that's him, and he states yeah, and then they go into talking about like, well, that means you're Mace, that means you invented the machine, where is the machine? And you know, Maceo just basically says that they're years too late, you know, and if they and they kind of like, he kind of makes a joke about it, but he's like, and if y'all don't hurry, it's like the end of the world if y'all didn't notice. I want to point out like how they look, and I have to imagine these might be the Rangers or some other entity that is after both now, Maceo and Mizzy, but we see an older Maceo right here. I will say this kind of got me like kind of off guard. I didn't expect the book to jump about it, and like I mentioned in the very beginning, that's my only small gripe about the book. I'm not a big, you know, fan of these like where they can't just tell an A to B story. It has to be A to F to Z to G to I don't know, but it's a small complaint. Like I said, it was the very end of the book. I think they're just giving us a tease on where the book is going, and I definitely didn't see it being as dark as that. I mean, if you look at those guys, they have like knives and stuff coming out of their arms, because it's not just one individual. It looks like 3 individuals, but they have like, I mean, they are ultra tortured to a T. They have, I mean, you can see his arm. He's got like knives coming out. They got it coming out of their face. It almost reminds me of Baraka from Mortal Kombat. But like I said, everything I loved about this book, the art, the paneling, the letters, the story, where they left us off in the first, and that small gripe about the linear thing, but maybe it's, hopefully they're not going to hop around a whole bunch, you know, maybe it's just something that we're going to see at the end of the story. But hey guys, that's my review. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see y'all next time. Alright, bye!